The Wonder Twins arrived in Smallville, episode 8, titled Idol. Wow, brilliant, enjoyed it, fantastic. So this episode, we find out that the Blur has been doing his saving the world job in a rather odd fashion, and Lois suspects that he's just behaving in a criminal manner, basically. However, Clark is trying to find out what exactly is really going on, because he knows it's not him that's doing all of this. Then we're introduced to the Wonder Twins. I believe they're called Jaina and Zach. Now, their powers are quite interesting. Jaina, she can transform into pretty much any creature that she wants, whereas her brother Zach controls ice, basically. Water, really. He controls water, so he has the ability to change into anything liquid, as well as, obviously turn into ice and all that sort of stuff. They both are portrayed like proper teenage Blur followers, as it were. They've got Twitter pages, they've got Facebook pages. It is unbelievable. All of a sudden, they've created all these blogs for the Blur and everything, and Clark doesn't like it. He thinks, it's sending out the wrong message, basically. But overall, throughout the episode, it was really interesting to see how Clark was handling the profile that he's been portrayed by the Wonder Twins, and how he can reverse the effects of what they've done, because it caught the attention of a very evil district attorney who was wanting to blame the Blur for all the actions and everything that he's caused and all that stuff. Lois basically came to his rescue to say, look, at the end of the day, this is who the Blur actually is. He's not who you think he is. He's not a bad person. He does want to save the world and everything. In order for us to allow that to happen, we need to believe in him and all that sort of stuff. Now, that sort of she shot herself in the foot by saying that, because the district attorney then took it upon himself to take even more drastic measures by saying, you said you know the Blur personally, you've seen his true identity, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to make it look like that he killed you, therefore the public will hate him and all that sort of stuff. And I thought to myself, wow, this guy really is, he's really doesn't like the Blur at all, does he? So it was a case of at this point the twins were under lock and key by Chloe. They were basically told by Chloe, look, you're going to stay here, you're not going to interfere and stuff like that. Apart from the odd fact that she said, you'll know when to save him at the right moment, and this, that and the other. The moment does arrive, they know when to save him, of which they do. But then something else interesting happens. Lois has been going for therapy lessons. Can you believe it? I didn't have no idea either. Obviously it's to do with the flashbacks that she's having from when she was in the future. So she's talking to her shrink, she's telling her shrink about all these vivid dreams that she's having, and you just have to watch the particular scene where she starts talking about it, and she's basically describing it as basically there's just a lot of skin involved and all that sort of stuff, and the interaction between Lois and her therapist is amazing. Obviously her therapist is delving more into this situation, finding out why Lois is having these vivid dreams and everything, but then something occurs as well that really makes Lois think, whoa, what did I just hear? During a phone conversation with the Blur, Zach accidentally, was playing about with one of Chloe's computers, which measures cell phone frequency. Turns out it was actually measuring Clark's phone that he was on the phone to at the time, talking to Lois whilst posing as the Blur. However, there was an interference, the Blur's voice disappears, Clark's voice is spoken, and then that's when Lois sort of like noticed the light bulb switched on in her head and was like, oh shit, Clark and the Blur are the same person. However, certain events do happen of which then Lois then realises that, okay, maybe the Blur and Clark are not the same person. There are some things I'm not going to spoil in this episode, because you do have to watch it. If you haven't seen it, then go ahead and watch it. I will upload a few clips, might be 1, 2, maybe 3, especially the last scene. If you've watched the last scene, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But overall, this episode, it started off intriguingly. That's all I'm going to say. It started off really well, and as it progressed, I mean, the best bit was when Jaina and Zach met the Blur for the first time, and you could see in their faces they were like a pair of little children. They were just like, oh my god, it's him, wow, he's here. It's like, oh Jesus, what do we say, you know? And it was just amazing just to see that. And as I say, the twins, I'm sure, I hope we see them again, because they were really good. Bless them. They brought like a younger sort of side to this episode of Smallville, which is always nice to see. Now we're just waiting on next week's episode, because it has now been, besides obviously the news that I revealed this week, that that Smallville are gonna have their first ever movie episode. A clip was released regarding Pandora, which is next week's episode. Everyone has seen that clip, and right now all I can say is I cannot fucking wait to just see what this episode is going to be like. And this is where the last part of the end of Idol comes into play. So when I upload that clip, watch that clip, and then you'll know why next week's episode is going to be so important and so exciting to watch. So that'll be it from me. And again, great episode. Smallville, I cannot stop loving Smallville. It's as simple as that. Keep up to date as always on Twitter. As I say, I'll be updating all updates on Twitter all the time as much as possible. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and what you thought about the episode as well. If you haven't already mentioned anything, by all means let yourselves run rampant, basically. Right, excuse me, that's it from me. Good night.